Welcome, my name is Stijn Hendrikse. When we work with B2B SaaS companies, one of the first fundamental questions that you need to answer is, what is the market that I'm in? Who's the market that I want to service? What is the solution that I provide, and how do sort of people define the audience that could benefit from that solution? And that's often called the total addressable market, your TAM. And a way to think about your TAM are the ways to define the market that would buy your solution. Let's say you have a solution that provides software that helps non-profits manage their spend management. In that market, the non-profit market, there are a lot of different subsegments. So your TAM could have multiple parts of that market of different sizes, right? You could have, for example, non-profit organizations that provide emergency relief, help people. You might have a non-profit organization that is religious, churches. You might have a non-profit organization that is about representing a certain a group of people in society, right? An association of some kind. So you have all these different parts of that total addressable market that have a certain size, right? One of them might be 5 million entities, 4 million entities, 3 million entities, etc., etc. This is your total addressable market. If you have software that's specifically addressing the needs of non-profit organizations, then this could be a way to think about your total addressable market. And of course, when you add these up, there's a total number, let's say 50 million or something like that, of organizations worldwide that could use your product. Then there is the next step. Which of those organizations can you actually service, your SAM, your Serviceable Addressable Market? And that is going to be defined by how you are able to service the specific needs of some parts of this market better than other parts of the market. Sometimes also called fit, or product market fit. And a great way to find where you have the best serviceable addressable market is to find out if there are places in that market where you, for example, have a lot of your existing customers that are loyal to you, your existing customers that have bought more from you, your existing customers that are very satisfied with your services. Things like an NPS score or churn levels are great ways to find out what parts of the market are a better fit for what you do. And then finally, you can have a lot of parts of the market that fit well. So let's say out of these 5 parts of the market, there's 2 that are really a great fit, and you've said, hey, that's where we want to focus. But then you also have limited resources. So there's something called SOM, your not only serviceable, but also your obtainable market, which might mean that you can only service a certain amount of customers. You can only service a certain part of the world, a certain geographical area, a certain size customer, because they are maybe, if a customer gets too big or too small, it doesn't fit the way you sell, it doesn't fit the way you service them. So what is sort of I like to think of this as the low friction path to success, right? Where is the friction going to be the lowest out of all the customers that potentially fit, that you could service? Which of those are going to have the lowest friction to service them, to sell to them, right? Things that would basically drive how much friction there is the complexity of the sales cycle. Do you have a great ability to integrate with some of the technology that they use? Maybe there's 2 parts of the market, and one part of the market uses a piece of technology, has standardized on certain technology that integrates well with your solution. Maybe you have a requirement that is related to regulatory needs of your customers that you satisfy, which makes it easier for you to sell into a certain part of the market because you satisfy that requirement. This is all about how do you find the path of least resistance to a win and to keep those customers and to service them well. So in the end, there could be just one part of the market that ends up passing that test. And a nice way to sort of to visualize this, this exercise is when you think of fit and traction, fit and friction. A nice way to visualize this is when you think of fit and friction as these two dimensions. One that is all about which parts of the market are easier for me to service, have a lower friction, let's say minus and plus, higher friction, lower friction. In this case, maybe it's easier to sell to a church because there may be less decision makers than it is to sell to, for example, the United Nations, right? A large non-profit organization, very big, a great opportunity if you could actually sell to them. But there are so many decision makers that this would be very hard, right? So hard to sell, easier to sell. Where's the competition, right? Are there certain parts of the market that have more competitive pressure than others? So the ones that have less competitors would go to the right of this spectrum. And then finally, fit, you did that analysis here. Are there certain parts of the market where you already have a position? We like to call these beachheads as well. These beachheads are the parts of the market where you have testimonials, you have customers referring other customers. So that's really this vertical axis. So maybe there's a certain part of the market that's easy to sell to, let's say these trade associations that we had as an example here. They're easy to sell to, not a very complex decision-making cycle, and they're a good fit. You have a lot of those as your current customers. They've told you that you do a great job for them. So now you found that sweet spot that has both a relatively easy path of entry and path to sell, and that have great fit, that are going to be your ideal, serviceable, and obtainable market based on what you can do today. This is also how you think of, when you think of nailing your first niche, winning a certain part of the market without a lot of competition, that makes it relatively easy within a year, for example, to achieve a certain growth target. This is a great model to do that. If you don't really do that, if you go after all of these, or for example, you go after the big parts of the market because they just look so lucrative, but they're hard to sell into, you don't necessarily have an existing position, it's very hard to do that in a short time frame. Thank you for watching.